The Grand Council chamber was filled with light from 1,000 stars. Huge glass walls showed the galaxy outside, shining bright and proud. Representatives from the strongest empires stood in tall circles, their uniforms glowing with power and history. At the center of the room stood one human. He looked small compared to the others. No heavy armor. No glowing crown. Just a simple dark suit and calm eyes. The Zaltherian Emperor leaned forward on his throne. His voice echoed across the chamber. "So this is humanity," he said, his sharp teeth showing. "The species that asks for protection." Soft laughter spread across the hall. A massive screen activated behind the human ambassador. It showed the remains of a human colony world. Cities burned. Oceans black with ash. Orbiting stations broken into pieces. 3 million civilians, the human said quietly. No military presence. No warning. "We ask the council to hold the attackers accountable." The chamber went silent for only a moment. Then a Veruan warlord spoke. "You expanded too close to contested space. Weak species must understand consequences." More agreement followed. The Zaltherian Emperor stood. "Your ships are small. Your fleets are few. You are new to space. And you expect ancient empires to fear you?" Laughter filled the chamber again. But the human did not react. His face did not change. High above the chamber, hidden observers watched carefully. One of them was General Karel, the oldest military mind in the council. He did not laugh. He studied the human's eyes. There was no fear there. Only something colder. The council vote happened quickly. No sanctions. No punishment. No justice. The decision appeared in glowing letters. Request denied. The Zaltherian Emperor smiled. "Let this be a lesson. Humanity is not ready to stand among giants." The human ambassador pressed a small device on his wrist. The image of the destroyed colony disappeared. Now the screen showed Earth from orbit. Peaceful. Blue. Quiet. "Humanity prefers peace," he said calmly. "We build. We trade. We forgive." He paused. "But we do not forget." This time, fewer beings laughed. The ambassador turned and walked out without another word. As the chamber doors closed behind him, General Karel felt something he had not felt in centuries. Doubt. Far away from the council's bright stars, beyond mapped trade routes, deep inside a region marked only as unstable dark space, something moved. Massive structures floated between dead stars. Shipyards so large they blocked entire suns. Construction platforms stretching for thousands of miles. For 20 years, humanity had been building in silence. They had studied every empire. Every war doctrine. Every weakness in shield systems. Every political alliance. They had not expanded loudly like others. They had prepared quietly. Inside one of the hidden shipyards, red lights began flashing. A voice echoed across the metal corridors. Authorization code confirmed. Revenge fleet activation begins. Docked warships powered on one by one. Engines the size of cities started glowing blue. Hulls darker than space absorbed the faint starlight around them. Rail cannons rotated into position. Shield generators hummed with controlled energy. Thousands of ships. More than any species had ever seen. On the bridge of the largest dreadnought, a human commander stood with hands behind his back. His uniform carried no medals. Only a single symbol, Earth. "Signal all fleets," he ordered calmly. "Yes, sir," an officer replied. A deep vibration moved through the void as hyperspace drives charged. Back at the Grand Council, the meeting had already moved to other topics. Trade disputes. Border arguments. Old rivalries. No one noticed when the first Zalthirian border station went silent. No distress call. No explosion. Just darkness. General Karel's personal console blinked with an alert. He frowned and opened the report. Multiple long-range sensors were detecting gravitational shadows near Zalthirian space. Not natural. Artificial. Massive. He slowly looked toward the star map projected in the center of the chamber. Several stars near Zalthirian territory began to dim. Not destroyed. Blocked. As if something enormous had moved in front of them. And far beyond the edge of known space, the human revenge fleet entered hyperspace together. The stars behind them disappeared. And the galaxy was about to understand the true meaning of patience. The first sign of danger was not fire. It was silence. Zalthirian border station KX-77 stopped sending signals. At first, commanders thought it was a technical failure. The station was old. Repairs were delayed many times. But then station KX-81 went dark. Then KX-90. No distress call. No explosion. No last message. Just, nothing. Inside the Zalthirian High Command, officers began speaking in low voices. A tactical map glowed in the center of the room. One by one, red warning lights appeared across their outer systems. What is causing this? The Emperor demanded. A nervous technician answered, "We are detecting large mass signatures, Your Majesty." Extremely large. But scanners cannot lock onto them clearly. Are they cloaked fleets? No known cloaking system matches this reading. Far from Zalthirian space, in the deep black between stars, something massive moved with perfect control. Human dreadnoughts. Thousands of them. They did not travel in chaotic formation like most fleets. They moved like one body. One silent machine. Their hulls were darker than space itself. Radar signals bent around them. Heat signatures were reduced to almost zero. They were not invisible. They were simply too advanced to understand. On the bridge of Earth's flagship, the commander watched a holographic map. His voice was calm. Primary targets. A tactical officer replied, Zalthirian military shipyards. Weapons factories. Orbital defense grids. All marked and confirmed. Civilian zones locked out. No civilian casualties, the commander said firmly. Yes, sir. Back in Zalthirian territory, panic slowly began to rise. A merchant convoy near the outer belt reported visual contact. The transmission reached high command, shaking and broken. We see something, blocking the stars. The screen filled with darkness. Behind the convoy, the light of an entire star system was fading. Not because the star was dying. But because something enormous was moving between the star and the ships. Then the transmission ended. The Zalthirian Emperor slammed his claws into his throne. Mobilize the 7th Defense Fleet. Now. Within minutes, hundreds of Zalthirian warships jumped to the last known position of the missing stations. They arrived in perfect formation. Weapons charged. Shields active. But space in front of them looked empty. Then their sensors began screaming. Mass signatures above. Below. Behind. All directions. Hyperspace tore open without warning. Human warships emerged like shadows given form. Thousands of them. Their arrival created no loud explosion. No dramatic wave. Just cold presence. The Zalthirian fleet fired first. Bright beams of energy crossed space. Missiles screamed toward the unknown enemy. Human ships moved smoothly. Shields absorbed impacts with controlled flashes of blue light. Counterfire began instantly. Precise. Clean. Deadly. Rail cannon rounds punched through Zalthirian cruisers in seconds. Engine systems were targeted first. Then weapons. Then command bridges. Human strikes were not wild. They were calculated. Within minutes, half of the 7th Defense Fleet was disabled. The remaining Zalthirian ships attempted retreat. But their jump drives failed. Human cyber warfare units had already infiltrated their systems. Panic spread through Zalthirian channels. This is impossible. Enemy numbers exceed projections. Requesting immediate reinforcement. On the human flagship, the commander watched quietly. Broadcast message, he ordered. A signal was sent across every open frequency in the system. For the colony you burned. No anger in the voice. No shouting. Just fact. Then the human fleet focused fire. The 7th Defense Fleet ceased to exist. Across the galaxy, long-range observers began detecting similar events. Military outposts destroyed. Shipyards eliminated. Defense networks shut down in seconds. But something confused many analysts. Human ships were avoiding civilian traffic lanes. They were not bombarding planets. They were not attacking trade stations. They were removing military power only. General Karel of the Galactic Council stared at the incoming data in horror. This is not rage, he whispered. This is strategy. He zoomed out on the star map. More shadows appeared. Different regions. Different systems. The pattern became clear. This was not one attack. It was many. And then the most terrifying report arrived. Deep space sensors confirmed the fleets attacking Zalthirian territory were only 20% of total detected human forces. Karel felt his breath slow. If this is only a fraction, he said quietly. Far beyond the battle zones, in deep dark space, an even larger formation of human warships waited. Engines charged. Weapons ready. Holding position. Waiting for a single command. And in Zalthirian High Command, new readings appeared on the tactical display. An incoming fleet signature. Bigger than anything recorded before. The main human force had not yet entered the war. The Galactic Council chamber was no longer bright with pride. Now it was filled with fear. Screens hovered in the air, each one showing destruction across Zalthirian space. Shipyards burned in silence. Defense platforms drifted as broken metal. Entire fleets had vanished in less than an hour. No one laughed anymore. The Zalthirian Emperor stood in the center of the chamber, his armor scratched, his voice shaking with anger. This is an act of total war, he roared. Humanity has attacked a sovereign empire without formal declaration. Across from him, the human ambassador stood as calm as before. You declared your intentions the day you destroyed our colony, he replied. Murmurs spread across the chamber. General Karel stepped forward. Reports confirm that human forces are targeting only military assets. Civilian centers remain untouched. The Veruan warlord frowned. Impossible. No species fights with that level of control. But the data was clear. In system after system, human fleets disabled weapons grids first. Then command ships. Then supply lines. They left hospitals, cities, and transport lanes untouched. It was war. But it was disciplined war. A young council member asked quietly, how many human ships are involved? General Karel expanded the holographic star map. Red markers filled Zalthirian territory like a spreading storm. Current estimate, he said slowly, over 12,000 warships confirmed. Gasps echoed through the hall. The Zalthirian Emperor slammed his fist down. We will answer with the Grand Armada. At that name, even experienced leaders stiffened. The Grand Armada was legendary. Built over centuries. 20,000 warships. Planet-destroying cannons. Shield arrays layered in impossible strength. It had never lost a battle. Mobilization has already begun, the Emperor said. We will crush this rebellion in one strike. The human ambassador looked at him carefully. Are you certain you want to gather all your forces in one place? The Emperor's eyes burned. You dare threaten me here? I am offering clarity, the human replied. The chamber doors opened suddenly. A Zalthirian officer rushed in, kneeling before the Emperor. Your Majesty, new intelligence. The human fleets are not spreading randomly. They are pushing us inward. What do you mean? The Emperor demanded. They are forcing our surviving forces toward central command sectors. Toward the capital route. The room went silent. General Karel understood first. They want your armada centralized, he whispered. The human ambassador did not smile. For 20 years, humanity had studied Zalthirian military doctrine. They knew the Empire relied on overwhelming force. They knew pride would demand a decisive battle. And they had prepared for exactly that. Far from the council chamber, deep in human-controlled dark space, the true core of the revenge fleet waited. Ships larger than moons floated in tight formation. New designs never revealed before. Weapons systems powered but silent. On the bridge of the largest vessel, Earth's Judgment, the human supreme commander stood before a massive holographic battlefield projection. Enemy fleet movements updated in real time. They are gathering, an officer reported. As expected, the commander replied. Grand Armada strength? Full mobilization confirmed. Estimated 20,000 ships. The commander nodded slowly. Signal Phase 2. Across the dark, thousands of human ships adjusted formation at once. Smaller task forces pulled back strategically, guiding Zalthirian forces into a single path of movement. Like hunters controlling the field. Back in the council chamber, arguments exploded. We must intervene. No, this is between empires. If humanity wins, balance of power collapses. The human ambassador finally spoke one last time. We asked for justice, he said calmly. You chose silence. He turned toward the chamber doors again. But understand this clearly. He paused, and every eye fixed on him. Humanity does not seek conquest. The star map behind him updated with a new alert. A massive energy spike appeared at the edge of Zalthirian capital space. Something enormous had entered hyperspace. The readings dwarfed previous fleet signatures. General Karel felt his breath catch. This is different, he whispered. The human ambassador gave a small nod. You are about to witness the difference between aggression and preparation. Across Zalthirian space, hyperspace tore open. The core of the revenge fleet began its advance. And for the first time in centuries, the Grand Armada prepared to face an enemy it did not understand. Zalthirian capital space had never known fear. The system was protected by layered defense rings, orbital fortresses, and minefields stretching across millions of kilometers. Massive shipyards floated near twin suns, producing warships without pause. At the center of it all stood the Grand Armada. 20,000 warships. Battleships covered in heavy armor. Cruisers armed with planet-breaker cannons. Carriers holding endless waves of fighters. Shield walls layered so thick they glowed like artificial stars. The Zalthirian Emperor stood on the bridge of his flagship, Dominion's Wrath. His voice was steady now. Let them come, he said. We will end this here. Across the system, the Armada formed a perfect wall of metal and firepower. No gaps. No weakness. Then space itself began to change. Sensors flickered. Stars ahead of the formation dimmed. At first, officers thought it was interference from the twin suns. But then gravity readings spiked across every console. A young officer whispered, multiple hyperspace ruptures detected, system-wide. Numbers, the Emperor demanded. The officer swallowed. Too many to count. hyperspace tore open. Not in one line. Not in one direction. It opened above, below, behind, and directly in front of the Armada. The true revenge fleet emerged. Ships larger than any previously seen drifted into normal space with controlled power. Their hulls absorbed starlight. Their engines glowed with quiet blue fire. At the center of the formation stood a single colossal flagship. Earth's Judgment. Its size alone broke targeting systems. For a brief moment, both fleets faced each other in silence. 20,000 Zalthirian warships. And across from them, something just as vast. The Emperor raised his claw. All ships, fire. The Grand Armada unleashed everything. Beams of white-hot energy tore across space. Missiles flooded the void. Planet-killer cannons discharged with enough force to shake nearby moons. Explosions filled the battlefield. But when the light cleared, the human formation was still there. Human shields shimmered, layered and adaptive. Impact zones shifted power automatically. Damaged sections rotated backward while fresh armor rotated forward. They had expected this level of fire. On Earth's Judgment, the Supreme Commander spoke calmly. Counteroffensive. Precision pattern delta. Human ships moved instantly. Not in chaos. Not in individual action. They moved like a single living organism. Flanking groups accelerated along the outer edges of the Armada. Smaller stealth vessels slipped through gaps no one thought existed. Electronic warfare units unleashed silent attacks. Zalthirian targeting systems began failing. Communication channels filled with static. Missiles lost lock mid-flight. Cyber intrusion detected. Shield synchronization failing. Navigation systems disrupted. The Emperor felt cold anger rise. Stabilize formation. But it was already breaking. Human rail cannons fired next. Long rods of accelerated metal struck with impossible speed. Each shot calculated. Each impact chosen for maximum effect. Command ships exploded first. Then shield generators. Then supply carriers. Human forces were not trying to overpower the Armada. They were dismantling it piece by piece. A Zalthirian admiral shouted over comms, "They are predicting our movement before we execute it." On Earth's flagship, a tactical officer confirmed, enemy formation collapse at 30%. Flank divisions retreating. The commander nodded. Do not pursue retreating civilian transports. Yes, sir. Even in total war, the rules remained. The Emperor watched as entire sectors of his legendary fleet vanished. Ships he had believed unstoppable were drifting as broken metal. For the first time in his life, doubt entered his mind. How? He whispered. An advisor answered weakly, they studied us. It was true. Every Zalthirian maneuver pattern. Every command hierarchy. Every pride-driven decision. Humanity had mapped it all. This battle had been decided years ago in hidden shipyards and silent war rooms. A massive explosion shook space as one of the Armada's largest carriers split in half. Your Majesty, an officer said, voice trembling, we have lost 40% of the Grand Armada. The Emperor clenched his fists. Order full retreat to capital defensive ring. Signals were sent. Surviving ships turned toward the inner system. But human forces did not chase wildly. They shifted formation again. Blocking escape routes. Cutting off command ships. On the main display, the once proud Grand Armada was no longer a wall. It was scattered. Broken. And surrounded. On Earth's Judgment, the commander gave the next order quietly. Prepare advance toward Zalthirian capital orbit. The final defensive line of the Empire waited ahead. And now, even giants had begun to tremble. Zalthirian capital orbit was silent. The last defensive ring had fallen in less than 20 minutes. Orbital cannons that once guarded the throne world were now floating debris. Defense satellites were disabled, not destroyed. Power grids flickered under controlled human interference. And above the planet, the revenge fleet waited. Thousands of human warships formed a dark shell around the Zalthirian homeworld. They did not fire. They did not move aggressively. They simply remained. Watching. On the surface below, panic spread across cities of gold and crystal towers. Emergency broadcasts played in every district. Citizens looked up at the sky and saw it filled with black shapes that blocked the stars. For the first time in their history, the Zalthirian people felt what smaller worlds had felt before them. Helpless. Inside the Imperial Palace, the Emperor stood before a massive window overlooking the planet. His once proud armor was damaged. His eyes no longer burned with arrogance. Open communication, he ordered quietly. Moments later, the central screen activated. The human Supreme Commander appeared. No background of explosions. No dramatic music. Just the bridge of Earth's judgment behind him and a quiet crew working at their stations. "You stand in violation of sovereign space," the Emperor said, but his voice lacked strength. The commander answered calmly. "You violated ours first." Silence followed. Behind the commander, tactical displays showed every remaining Zalthirian weapon system highlighted in red. "We can end this world in less than 4 minutes, the commander continued. "Your shields are down. Your fleets are broken. Your command network is compromised." The Emperor closed his eyes for a brief second. "Then why have you not fired?" The commander's answer came without hesitation. "Because this was never about destruction." Across the system, human ships transmitted a single pulse of energy. It spread through the capital's orbital grid like controlled lightning. Weapon systems powered down completely. Missile silos locked. Defense cannons froze in safe mode. Every military tool the Empire had was now under human control. Yet no cities burned. No civilians were harmed. The message was clear. Power did not require cruelty. The commander spoke again. "You believed humanity was weak because we chose peace. You mistook restraint for fear." He leaned slightly closer to the screen. "We are peaceful. But we are not harmless." In the Galactic Council chamber, leaders from every empire watched the live transmission. No one interrupted. No one argued. They were witnessing the balance of power shifting in real time. The commander continued. "These are our terms." A document appeared across all networks in the galaxy. "The Zalthirian Empire will formally admit responsibility for the destroyed human colony. Reparations will be paid to rebuild lost worlds. No empire will attack developing species without unified council judgment. A new interstellar defense pact will be created, led jointly by humanity and neutral members. Refusal would mean total military collapse." The Emperor looked down at his shaking hands. His armada was gone. His defenses were controlled by another species. His people were afraid. For the first time, pride felt small. "We accept," he said quietly. Across the galaxy, reactions were immediate. Smaller civilizations sent private signals of relief. Trade guilds recalculated power charts. Military leaders rewrote threat assessments. Humanity had not conquered the capital. They had proven they could. And that was enough. On Earth, citizens watched the same broadcast from city streets and quiet homes. There were no wild celebrations. No cries for revenge. Only quiet understanding. High above Earth's atmosphere, the revenge fleet slowly turned away from Zalthirian space. One by one, the massive ships entered hyperspace. They did not stay to rule. They returned to the dark. On the bridge of Earth's judgment, an officer asked softly, "Do you think they will remember this?" The commander looked at the star map as Zalthirian systems stabilized. "They will," he said. Far behind them, the stars of the galaxy shone clearly again. But now every empire understood something they had ignored before. Humanity was never the loudest voice in the room. Never the largest fleet on display. Never the oldest power. But when pushed into the shadows, they became something far more dangerous. And from that day forward, no one in the galaxy ever mistook human kindness for weakness again.